Hello everyone, my name is Matt and I am a team organizer for UAU, particularly for their census outreach team. In this video, my partner Zsakée and I will go through some questions many people have about the census, as well as some things we think you should know about it. This will be a bit like trivia, some questions and some answers. If you'd like to play along, you may pause the video when we read the questions and try to figure out the answers on your own. Let us know how you did by the end of the video. If not, you can just follow along to see the answers. Okay, let's get right to it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to 10 Things You Should Know About the Census. My name is Zsakée, here with the UAU Census Outreach Team. And here's our first question. What is the census? You got it. Also known as the Population and Housing Census, the decennial U.S. Census is designed to count every resident in the United States. It is mandated by Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, and takes place every 10 years. The data collected by the decennial census determines the number of seats each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives, and is also used to distribute hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funds to local communities each year. Have we always counted everyone? That's right. Unfortunately, the census count hasn't always been as inclusive as it is today. These historically undercounted communities are now considered to be hard to count. Communities of color, urban and rural low-income households, immigrants, and young children are all at risk of being missed at disproportionately high rates. Being undercounted deprives already vulnerable communities of fair representation and vital community resources. Are our census responses protected? Yes. The Census Bureau is bound by Title 13 of the U.S. Code to keep your information confidential. This law protects your answers to the 2020 census. Under Title 13, the Census Bureau cannot release any identifiable information about you, your home, or your business, even to law enforcement agencies. The law ensures that your private data is protected and that your answers cannot be used against you by any government agency or court. Violating Title 13 is a federal crime, punishable by up to 10 years of prison time and or a fine of up to $250,000. The answers you provide are used only to produce statistics. You are kept anonymous. The Census Bureau is not permitted to publicly release your responses in any way that could identify you or anyone else in your home. NYCHA, NYPD, ICE, none of these agencies can access your personal information. Will there be a question about citizenship on the 2020 census form? You got it. The 2020 census does not ask whether you or anyone in your home is a U.S. citizen. Everyone counts. The 2020 census counts everyone living in the country, including non-citizens. Your answers cannot be used to impact your eligibility for government benefits. The Supreme Court and other courts have permanently blocked the government from adding a citizenship question to the 2020 census. Filling out the census is easy, safe, and there's language support in over 50 languages. Are young children included in the census count? Absolutely. It is extremely important to count young children. Counting young children in the census helps them thrive. When you respond to the census, you help our community get its fair share of funding and services. The census count affects crucial programs such as early learning programs, special education, child care grants, Head Start, Medicaid and children's health insurance, low-income housing programs, SNAP and WIC programs. Remember, when you fill out the census, include everyone who is living at your residence on April 1st, 2020.
The next question we want to ask is how much money is distributed each year to public services and programs based directly on census data? Whatever number you were thinking, it's probably a bit higher, because the actual answer is $675 billion. If you think that's a lot of money, it is. That's almost 6 times more than the total net worth of Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon and the richest person in the world. That's how much money is distributed each year. And as we know from question 1, the census only comes around every 10 years. So each year, $675 billion are at stake for programs and services that we use around the country. Next, we have what are some places that receive funds based on census data. In all honesty, there are too many to list, but some of the highlights and things that you might have come up with include schools, K-12 schools, as well as public colleges and universities, public spaces, such as parks, public housing units, such as NYCHA units, infrastructure, roads, bridges, tunnels, sidewalks, hospitals, which can receive grants, and community centers. All these places receive funds based directly on census data. The next question we have is what makes it difficult to count teens and young adults? Any parents of teens or young adults may know this, but they're not home too often. Particularly, about 45% of young people, aged 18 to 24, don't live at their childhood home and are considered less likely to respond to the census. Also, since younger people are likely to be highly mobile, some are away at college, some don't permanently live at their childhood home, sometimes their parents don't count them when they fill out their census. And therefore, both teens and young adults are part of the young and mobile group and considered hard to count. But be sure, they do count. Another question is, what are some ways in which census data helps benefit decision-making in society? Now this is kind of a longer answer, but if you think about it this way, if the city is thinking about implementing a new bus service, where do they look? Well, you guessed it, they look at the census data, things like population density, to see if a new bus service would benefit the community in which they're looking. Or let's say if the city is thinking about planning on starting a new public school program, where would they look? They would look, again, at census data, things like the number of school-aged children in the area to see if it would benefit the community. Even private businesses can look at aggregate data from the census to see if they want to open up a new business in their area catered to the people of that community. Another common concern about the census is regarding schooling. So many people want to know, do the schools in my community receive funding from the census? And as you might have guessed, the answer is yes. Schools utilize the data from the census to estimate many important resources for students. This can include things like the estimated monetary need for free or reduced lunches, class sizes, things like how many students are actually in the community, the amount of staff needed to fit those number of students in the community, and funding for books, laptops, iPads, and many other resources that may be available to students. All this data comes from the census. So, if you think your classroom was too crowded, it may be because that not everyone filled out the last census in your community, and the school didn't know how many students to expect.
And now for a bonus question. Who is most affected by the census? That's right, it's you. For all the reasons we've named and many others, you can see that the census affects everyone, as well as programs and institutions all around us. In the time it took you to watch this video, you could have completed your 2020 census. Taking only 10 minutes of your day to count for the next 10 years is a pretty powerful thing.